Hi people, my name is Tomislav and today I'm gonna talk about my experience of using the R5 for 3 months now as a professional hybrid shooter. So let's start. When the first rumors of the R5 came out, I already knew that this will be the perfect camera, and actually it was. Regarding photography, this is all-in-one package, holy grail of photo cameras, I would say. It has everything for everybody. You can use this in any type of shoot, and that's what I needed because I'm really versatile photographer. I do a lot of sports, I do high commercial stuff, and I do portraits. Basically a lot of different segments in photography. This will cover all of that. It has a new sensor, 45 megapixel sensor that is really large, but I can use that really in my advantage in sport photography because it will allow me to crop a lot, being flexible and maybe even faster because I will not be so limited by the lenses that I have currently on my camera. And regarding advertising, I would say the more is better all the time. Like in those cases when you do advertising, all the agencies prefer larger format cameras or larger megapixel cameras because you can cut them, crop them as much as you want for different layouts, different type of prints, different type of presentations. And regarding retouching, you have more information, so it's much easier to edit the photo on a higher quality level. I do a lot of retouching of my photos for commercial use, so this is something that I will be happy about. Having more pixels is always easier to work with. This camera has 12 frames per second with a mechanical shutter and also 20 with a electronical shutter. So that's the reason why also I bought it. I do a lot of sports because I'm an official Red Bull photographer, and I will put these frames in a good use. 12 is enough personally, but I like to have like opportunity to maybe use the 20 in some cases. Often I'm doing a project where a person is doing something only once, then it's really useful to have as many frames as you can. And this will be perfect. Combine that with 45 megapixels and I'm allowed to do even some mistakes because sometimes you do them and this will help me to repair them or even avoid them. There are some disadvantages of electronical shutter, bending or deforming with the subjects that are moving fast. But in a lot of use case scenarios, this will not happen, so it's useful. You can use it maybe in some creative way. It also has a new autofocus. It's a dual pixel autofocus, I think version 2. Which has animal IF, and everything is much better. Like if you own like the Canon R, this is like totally new universe. It's like 2 generations in front. Basically it is 2 generations up because the 1DX Mark III had this autofocus but without the animal IF, so this is even step further. Both the animal and the human IF works incredible. I have a black dog and a black cat and it finds their eyes really easy and their faces and just recognize that these are the animals in the shots. I'm just amazed how good they made this autofocus work. It's incredible. Now it's much easier for you to work with the camera. You don't have to like focus too much on sharpness and that stuff. Now you can put more energy to frame better, to think about the lighting, the facial expressions, because autofocus will never miss or rarely it's gonna miss. You need some learning curve to use it. Actually, the whole autofocus is totally different than the previous cameras. It has a lot of options, so I suggest to any new user just to spend a day or two just to get to know how it works, so you don't have to learn how to use it during a commercial photo shoot. Also, the main advantage why I like Canon, I'm a Canon user now for 13 years is the ergonomics. It's always like when you grab a Canon, it has a really nice feel to it, and this camera is like, it's like if you ever own a 5D series, it's really similar, a bit smaller. I would even compare it more regarding size and feel to the 6D series, but everything is perfect. Like every button, everything is really fast to work. You have 3 dials to change your aperture, shutter speed or ISO, so you don't have to enter any menu to change that. It's really fast to work with. It also finally has 2 card slots. One is CF Express and the other is the SD card slot. The CF Express is gonna be a really hard hit on your wallet. The cards are really expensive because it's a new technology basically, but they are insanely fast. They allow this camera to have this performance that it has. And the next really important thing they introduced in this series, like the R6 or the R5 that I'm filming with, is the in-body image stabilization, IBIS. It's incredible. For photography, you will probably not need a tripod anymore in a lot of situations, especially if you're using the new lenses with the image stabilization. I did try it with my old 35 1.4 that I'm currently filming. That's the Mark 1 from Canon, and I was able to do 1/3 of stop shot, 1/3 of a second shot with the R6, and more megapixels the camera have, the more micro jitters you have on the image. With the R5, I would say with this lens I could easily go to 1/10 of the second, so it's really incredible how good the image stabilization is. Now I don't have to carry anymore the tripod as much as I used to, or I can just use my really easy hiking tripod that is not maybe stable, but this stabilization actually will just compensate for the micro jitters that happen with this not that stable light tripod. Really useful, and it will really help your back problem. And lastly, regarding photography, I want to point out this is a new Canon sensor. The image quality is much better than any previous Canon camera. Dynamic range is one stop better. I would say, considering the size of the sensor, I mean the pixel density of the sensor, it's incredible. It will be a noticeable jump from the Canon 5D series Mark IV or the Canon R to this one regarding the image quality. The details are really nice. It's really a sharp sensor with a much better dynamic range, especially in the shadows. You can push this image much further than previous cameras, I would say. Canon did a really good job on this camera, and I think now they are like on a level with other companies regarding the dynamic range. Although I was really pleased with the 5D Mark IV or the R, but I mean, more is better always. Now let's go to the video side of the camera. This camera has an 8K sensor that can shoot internally 8K 12-bit RAW and 8K up to 30 frames, and also it can shoot 4K up to 120 frames per second. It offers 2 types of 4K modes. One is high quality mode that goes to 30 frames per second, and it's a downsample image from 8K. This is really high quality mode, but the problem with it overheats. All the high quality modes and high frame modes overheat at one point. It also offers like a low quality 4K mode up to 30 frames, which will basically be enough for most use case scenarios people are gonna use this camera for. A lot of hybrid shooters post their work on social media, online channels, and most of these like YouTube, Instagram and that destroys the image quality. So it's gonna be good enough. And also, depending on your approach, I think the overheating will not be a problem for a lot of people. This camera can also shoot up to 60 frames per second in 1080p. It should get 120 in 1080p. So then you have also opportunity, if it overheats, to shoot like super slow-mo in 1080p and 4K in lower quality mode. If you have an external device that records like I do, it's the Ninja 5, you can record externally without fear of overheating in all the high quality modes up to 4K 60. So I doubt that they will make the Ninja record 120 4K anytime, so don't hope for that, and also 8K, because I think it's not capable doing that. But for most of people 4K 60 is enough for more serious use. Ninja 5 is really a usable tool that any videographer should have, especially if he's using any of this type of camera like hybrid cameras. In C-Log, this camera also shoots 10-bit internally, which I think is really good quality, good enough for most of use case scenarios, especially later if they introduce the Log 3 as they promised. It will give you more flexibility regarding dynamic range. And now also we have zebras and focus picking, so for the ones that need something that will help them expose correctly, zebras are there, and also for the ones that are doing manual focus, there is focus picking. Regarding overheating, that's the biggest problem. A lot of people bashed on this camera because of that. They say that Canon crippled this camera on purpose. I doubt that, because I think they were just protecting the photo side and made it so it never overheats to the point where you cannot use the camera at all. Now if it overheats, you can always use 4K up to 30 in low quality. You can use all the HD modes, and you can use the photo capabilities of the camera without any restrictions. And since this is a photo camera first and then video camera second, I understand their choice. For me, it didn't overheat anytime now. I was using it for a lot of projects without the external recorder. Usually I work with two cameras, so for my type of workflow, this is a perfect A camera, and combined with the R6, it can do everything that I need. This is in that case a B camera, or even I switch sometimes. This is an A camera and this is a B camera, because the R6 has a better cooldown if it overheats. You get a minute for a minute, and on Canon I would say it's a bit longer. But now with the firmware 1.1.1, for most people I think the overheating will not be a big problem. And also I think this is the best hybrid camera so far. Okay, you can compare it to the Sony a7S III, but Sony a7S III is not as good, nearly as good photo camera. And basically it's only a video camera. This can do both, probably the best currently in the market, the photography side. And regarding video, it can offer more than Sony, considering it has 8K RAW internally. At the end I would just say, I think R5 is probably the best hybrid camera, but it's not for all people that are shooting specific type of video, definitely not. But if your main focus is photography, don't even think about it, just buy it if you can. But if you have this amount of money and you're more in video, consider the C70. It's amazing video camera. Now let's talk about the problems of this camera. There are not many. Regarding photography, I would say battery life, that concludes also the video. It drains a lot of battery, and I would like to have more options regarding if it's like a viewfinder only on or display on, because you can switch between one and the other, but I would prefer if it's viewfinder on. If I press menu, that it shows on the display, and that I can choose that, or even if both of them are off, and if I put my eye on the sensor, that it recognizes that my head is near and just turns on the viewfinder. That will probably save some battery life. There is also one thing regarding the frame rates. Depending on the lens or the battery, the frame rates will drop. So if you have an older lens like 35 1.4 that I have, Mark 1, the frame rates will not go higher than 8 frames per second. And also that happened with the 50 1.2. and if your battery drops to 30%, it will also slow down the camera to 8 frames per second. So you have to be really aware of the limits of the camera when you need the 12 frames per second to be prepared well, choosing the right lens or having the battery full. That's it regarding photography. I don't have that's the only two things that I don't like. Maybe the joystick, I would prefer that it's on the same place where the 5D joystick is, so it's a bit closer to the thumb. It would be much, I would use it more, I guess. Here it's a bit far away, up there near the viewfinder. Regarding video, I would like to have larger HDMI, because this doesn't, I think it's gonna broke really easy, the micro HDMI out. Also, I would like more codecs or bitrate. They said that they're gonna introduce in the future updates ability to change the bitrate and also some new codecs maybe, regarding RAW at least. Also, I would like when I'm shooting externally that when I press menu that I have ability to show the menu on the display of the camera that is touch screen, because it's showing it on my Ninja, and the touchscreen options does not work on the Ninja, unfortunately. Or at least if they could enable that the HDMI sends also the touch inputs to the Ninja, that would be nice. Regarding the overheating, maybe I would like to have 4K 60 without overheating, but for me the overheating currently was not big of a deal. And if it's gonna be, then I'm definitely gonna buy the cinema line camera, because that means that I overgrown this type of workflow, and then I have too many jobs where I need a real cinema camera. So I hope you like this review of the R5. Also, if you're interested in the R6, I'm gonna say again, there is another video where I'm talking about it. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment sections. I will gladly respond. Also, if you have some suggestions what to do next, tell me. Subscribe if you want more of this content. I will also do a giveaway in my next video, because I'm close to 1000 subscribers, so I want to reward people that are following me. Good thing is that basically I want 1000 subscribers, so there is a bigger chance for you to get the reward. It's gonna be Huawei's earpods. They are worth around, I don't know, $200, so I think it's a good reward. So hope to see you next time. Bye!